Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening. Appreciate that. My name's Mark Forrest. Reason I'm here is I have a YouTube channel that I go out and explore around Ontario and even further if we can, and checking out all the incredible places that you can get out and find when you're using PWC, a Sea-Doo, a small boat, anything like that. So I've been doing YouTube now for about 5 years. Decided I wanted to, give another reason to go out and see all these great places and give people some ideas of where to go. I remember we were always sitting around talking about, you kind of go to your cottage, you put the boat in the spring, you putz around on the lake for a couple hours every day, and you haven't really seen it. You take it out in the fall and you're done. So this was my idea that I wanted to get out and explore more. I've seen obviously other places to go when I was out traveling, so I was inspired to film it and get people excited about going out and seeing all the beautiful things we have here in Ontario on the water. So just backstory on me, I grew up on Georgian Bay. Like I said, part of that whole, you put the boat in the spring, you kind of go around your cottage, you have a little fun, you go out on the tube and you come back and stuff like that. And that was pretty much all we did for many years. But then I really wanted to start getting into the exploring of it, and I found that to get the full boat together, get everything you need for it and where to go, I didn't have any information back in the day. So around 2015, Sea-Doo started to come out with these smaller Sea-Doos that are very cheap. They were like $7,000, easily to trailer around. You could take it in a sedan. You didn't have to have a pickup truck or anything like that. So I got myself one of these and started exploring a little bit further around my area on Georgian Bay, just up around the Owen Sound, Wyerton, and the Tobermory run. Now with the Spark, obviously it's still a small thing. I like to call it the dirt bike of Sea-Dooing and stuff like that. It's there to play around with and have a great time, but I really wanted to get out and explore. So I had that for a couple years, but the itch in me that to get further and further, I saw like Lion's Head. I wanted to go all the way there. I wanted to get up to Tobermory. I wanted to see different things. So in 2017, I expanded and ended up with the Sea-Doo GTI. So a bit bigger, a little bit more stability, much better seat, more comfortable, but not much storage. There was no way to carry anything with you. Everything you had to do was kind of a quick day trip. So again, in this, as you can see on these photos right here, we did finally make it up to Lion's Head, which is absolutely beautiful, from Owen Sound. But again, it wasn't quite enough that I wanted to keep going for further distances. That's when in 2019, Sea-Doo came out with a new hull design called the ST3 hull. This hull was purposely designed for comfort, stability, and just reliability on the water. Easy to handle larger waves. So in this case, going out on Georgian Bay, it can go from glass calm to you're in a huge, 4 or 5 foot swells in a matter of minutes. It just is one of those lakes that can do that. So with this unit, I can actually stand with my full weight on that gunnel and not even get water that goes into it. That's how stable these units are. So with that, they also come with the ability to have more, they have a link system that you can attach devices to, such as you can see in this photo, I've got a gas can attached to it. And then in the front storage, they actually did it now where instead of having to reach over your handlebars and get into your storage and feel like you're dangling over the top of it, you can actually lift these up right from in front of the handlebar and reach right in. I was looking at that as the ability to actually put a 20-liter jerry can inside that space as well that you have there. So now I can carry 35 extra liters on this while still putting in clothing, all my camera supplies. If I go out camping, I put all my camping supplies on it. And it gives you a stable run that you're not, I've had this since 2019, haven't rolled it once, close calls, but it's never actually rolled over on me. So that's the beauty of this system. So what we have with that is now you've got the ability to go out there, you've got a unit that's easy to travel with, that's safe and reliable, and you want to kind of explore. Like I said, I was doing just the usual Owen Sound through Tobermory kind of run, which is beautiful unto itself, but wind is a huge factor, waves are a huge factor. So I wanted to start exploring more into Ontario. So basically where I started off was, during lunch, don't tell my boss, but during lunch, you start exploring around on Google and poking around at places to see. So, you sit there and you say, okay, well, maybe I want to go look at Parry Sound. I've heard great things about going up there. It's beautiful. So you first start looking on it with the Google map. Then I went to using the satellite imagery to kind of get, okay, that's kind of it, but you can see you don't really get too much detail on it. And it kind of, even when I went to Street View, you can see there's there's a lovely tree blocking the ramp that I can't even see what the ramp looks like. So I started to think, is there a better way to do this? I've spent a lot of time looking around, and surprisingly, I found something with the Ontario government. Who saw that coming? I didn't. They actually have an amazing website called Fish Online. Now this is mostly obviously to find out about where you can fish and stuff like that, but I found on it a little hidden icon that actually will show you all the boat ramps in Ontario. To a point. There are some that obviously aren't there, they're local ones, but you can see on this map here, I've got kind of Muskoka on the left-hand side, and I've got Lake Ontario here on the right-hand side. So all of these spots are listed as ramps that you can actually launch from. Now, there will be a caveat later on that I'll explain to you, but a lot of this you can see, like Lake Muskoka, you have tons of these ramps. You see there's a little bit less through when you get out onto the Georgian Bay side, just because of obviously the shoreline out there, more rocky, you got fewer choices for that. Here's another example of some of the other ones. We got Lake Simcoe. I always get people asking, oh, where do you put in on Lake Simcoe? No one has an answer for that. But these all are ramps that you can kind of look around and see. What you can do is then, obviously, this one is if you want to go down the Trent Waterway. This is the Kawartha Lakes right here, Stony Lake, Bob Cajun, all the ones like that. So again, just showing you that no matter where you're looking, they do have ramps for you to look at. What you get into is once you've found where you want to go and there's a ramp nearby, in this case what we're going to use is we're going to use Gravenhurst. I'm going to look this way. We're going to use Gravenhurst as our example. So there's two ramps that go out onto Lake Muskoka from Gravenhurst. This lower ramp right down here, and then another ramp right up here. The lower ramp what we're looking at there is the, what is it? The Gravenhurst Wharf. So that's a public ramp, right? And then the other one, I'll show you what it is right there. So say I want to look at this ramp to go here. There is a brief, they're not great. It is the government's website, so it's not too great. But there's a brief breakdown of what might be there. So you have, it's a boat launch. Is there parking? Yes. Who owns it? The municipality. The material type for the pad is concrete, right? It'll say, dirt, concrete, whatever, wood, anything like that. So that ability is there like that. Pay at the launch? No. So it tells you if the launch is pay or not. Now again, there's times where you get certain launches that it won't have that full information, but because this is a popular launch, it's actually got quite a bit of information. From there, what you can do is from the app, these are photos from the app, is you can actually zoom in and have a quick look at what the actual site looks at better than that Google one did. You can see obviously the boat launch, obviously the water trail, but where you're going to launch your boat, they have a dock there, parking that's available for there. You don't see it here, but the first couple of spots are staging. So if you're going to stage your boat, that. And then actually you've got down here, if you follow on the map when you can look around, they actually have free parking for your trailer and car right there. So you don't even have to pay for parking. Right? And then what I like to do is then I go back into Street View and see if I can get another look at what there is, if there's any signage. So on this one, there's a light pole right here, and it has designated parking for trailers as well. So you can look around and see what's kind of there. You can kind of get a quick view of what you're looking at before you even get to the ramp and before you leave. So very, very helpful to know what you're getting to so you don't kind of get shocked by, oh, where do I go to park? Where do I go to stage? What am I looking at? Because the worst thing is you do is taking up time looking around when other people are trying to launch. Now it's not perfect. It does show this other ramp up here. Now when we go to look at that ramp, you're going to get to the point where it doesn't give you very much. It all says unknown and stuff like that, right? Even though you're like, well, that would be a better ramp to go to if I was coming this way. What you need to do is you do need to do the research on them and check them, because when you come to this one, it actually shows that it's a private ramp for an island that's out on the thing. So even though there is a parking lot there and there is a boat launch, you can actually see on it, they've got private property of the thing. So you can't park there. I mean, you could, if you're gonna dine and dash kind of thing, put your boat in and go, sure, take the risk, but your car will probably get into a bit of trouble. But that's what you gotta do, is you gotta take a little bit of time, because like I said, it's not quite perfect yet. They've got different websites that do it, but this one I found is the best one, because you can actually get in and see what you're looking at and see what kind of situations you're dealing with when you get there. Gives you the ability, like you can see in this one, that it's a dirt or a mud ramp, right? So you know that's going to obviously take a bit of account into it. What you want to do is, the other thing is, once you're doing these things, is make them a weekend, especially with the amount of options that we have here for getting out into some really rural areas. I like to go out and I spend a weekend out on the water with it. Again, so they have a website, again, through Ontario Parks, that you can go to for their backcountry camping. So what it is it's accessibility to, as in this case, we're going to use the Muskoka Provincial Park, which is just south of Parry Sound. So Parry Sound is a wonderful hub to get out from, because it just has great ramps and free parking during the day, and it's only $10 if you want to park overnight. Most ramps, they're charging you $25 to $30 a day, and you can't park overnight. You have to find other accommodations. So if you want to go out and do an overnight camping trip, take a tent with you and stuff like that, these are the situations where you have good chances to get to. The Muskoka here has tons of actual campsites that can be accessed by open water. So you don't have to worry about, the portaging and all the canoe life. This one, you can actually come out through the channel and go into all these campsites here that you can see just outside by the bay. So it shows even lines into how you would get into them from there with your boat. And then you just click on your campsite, book it. All of these campsites are more or less designed to allow for boats to pull up to it. There's either trees that you can tie off to. There's even some of the campsites that have anchor bolts in them that you can actually run a line to. A lot of cruisers go to these places, so it's kind of designed for that situation, right? So for you on the small boat traveling, it gives you even more chance to kind of get out and see different things. Take a tent in the boat with you, spend the night and come back. You're not going too far. It's an hour and a half from Toronto. If you want to get really adventurous, then there's Crown Land, which is basically a free-for-all. If you're a Canadian citizen, you have the ability to go to Crown Land and you can pull up on there and camp and stay for up to 21 days without having to worry about anything. You can have fires, you can go fishing, you can do all this stuff. I like using this app. Again, it's from the Ontario government. It's the Crown Land Use Policy Atlas. I mean, who comes up with the names? But it gives you the ability to see what is public, what is provincial parks, what are federal parks, what's private land, what's reserves, and all these other things like that. So what you can do from there is you can kind of zoom into it. And in this case, again, we're going to go back up to the Parry Sound area. You can see different color coding to it. So the lower color coding here in green, this darker green, that's a provincial park. So you can obviously see that. The purple is First Nations land. So that one is not allowed to land on without full permission from them. So that one, you want to make sure you take care of that. But again, they have areas where you can come and pull into the harbor and request, and they'll actually give you a pass, kind of like if you were buying one online, but it's through them. Then again, you've got Killbear as a provincial park. And then you'll see up here, there's Franklin Island, which is Crown Land, but it's a conservatory land. So it's just like Crown Land, except there's more rules to what you can and cannot do to it. And then it doesn't work well out here, but there's two different versions on it. There's a light pale version, which is actual Crown Land. So you can pull up anywhere on there and land, it's no problem. The gray ones, and everything that's gray is private. So that you can't pull up onto, you can't land there, obviously without the homeowners or landowners' permission. From that, what you can also do is there's an option in here where you go to find information, and then you'll get this round little circle. You'll click on that, and with that, you're actually able to go and drag it anywhere on the map, and from there, it will actually give you a breakdown of what you're actually over. If it was on private land, it would say private land. In this case, it's on the conservation reserve. So what you would do then is go down to where it says report, click on the English, French if you want it, and it will actually give you a full breakdown of what's available for you to do on Crown land. So in our tents and purses, we're going to go look at this one, the third line here, which is for camping, recreational camping. Is it permitted? Yes. Is there things where you got like, can you have fire? Can you do fishing? Can you do hunting? You can read all the things like that. So again, it gives you a complete breakdown of where you're looking to make sure that if you're out there on the water, you're not showing up on someone's property. You don't want to get them ticked off. You're all out there to have a good time and enjoy the area that we're in. The other thing, once you're going out, is you got to start looking at the wind and weather. Plays the most incredible factors into going out on a PWC, a Sea-Doo, or a small boat. You want to make sure that you're having a great day on the water. You don't want to be sitting there getting rocked around like there's no tomorrow. So I've got a couple things that I do. I always check the radar for winds. I use the 14-day trend to kind of look at and try to play where you're going and track it down. The one thing you need to make sure that you're aware of when you're doing this is always have a backup to the location you're going to go. I might want to go to Tobermory, but in this case, oops, nope. In this case, if you're looking at it, we've got it broken down that Tobermory right up here at the top, the winds are actually coming onshore. And with the cliffs that they have there, it becomes totally unsafe to go out on a small boat. The waves that you get off there, they go cross-connect and stuff like that. So the other ones you would look at is I've got Muskoka and I've got Lake Ontario. Reason why I wouldn't choose Lake Ontario on the day is, again, you've got an east wind going right parallel to the shoreline. So again, that's pretty much going to be running the length of Lake Ontario. You're going to get rougher waves, a bit more of an uncomfortable ride. So of my three choices, you come up to Muskoka here. Now in that case, you can see, again, it is a bit of a northeast wind, but it's coming across the lake and not carrying the whole length of the lake. So these are things you look at. And with it, you can actually click on and drive over, take your mouse over, and it'll give you kilometers per hour. On the app itself, it will actually play out every half hour, so you can see if it changes or improves or gets worse during the day. So that app I use is called Ventuski. It's an amazing app. I know everyone uses like Windy or anything like that, but I have been using Ventuski for about 4 or 5 years. I heard about it when I was stopped in at one of the marinas, and I saw it online, and I thought, well, this is different than all the other ones I've been looking at. And he's like, this is the best one I've ever ran, and I will tell you, it is the best one I've had about a 95% success rate with getting the winds right. So it's Ventusky, Ventusky. The other one I use is called My Radar. This one, again, it gives you both wind and obviously the radar conditions for when you're out on the water. If you're doing an overnight or if you're doing a multiple day, you want to be able to make sure you keep track of what's going on with it. The wind I find in this one does match up pretty good to what the Ventusky app does, but there is a slight difference to it. But always good to have a radar with you. Things to bring with you when you're going before you get out and head out there. Obviously, you want your boating license, your life jacket, sunscreen, hats, sunglasses. There's mandatory things that you need to take, even on a Sea-Doo or a PWC or a small boat. You got to have your fire extinguisher. You got to have some kind of signaling device, flares. A first aid kit is always welcome. Making sure you take your cell phone that is fully charged. Some people have marine radios. They even now have satellite communication devices that you can pay a monthly fee for, and it has like an SOS button built into it, or you can tie it into your cell phone, send text messages if there's no cell service. The one that I use is called Zoleo. Fantastic device for that. So it gives a lot of peace of mind to people at home when you're going out and doing something out on bigger water or longer trips. Change your clothes. You're going to get wet probably, so always have a change of clothes with you. It's nice. Extra gas if you can fit it on it. Obviously, these Sea-Doos that I go out on do have the ability to carry more gas. It's just a great safety feature. Gets you out there longer on the day, but also gives you that peace of mind that you're going to be okay getting back. Snacks and drinks. I mean, we all get hungry. And I like to carry just a basic repair kit, just enough that if something broke down, I could tie it off, clamp it off, wrap it up, and at least put back to the ramp and make it home at least that way. Then you get to the point where you're at the ramp. And You want to be first starting off with it, you get to the staging area. Don't go straight to the ramp and line up and be like, oh, I'm going to put my straps on and I'm going to put my cooler in now. No, please, that's one thing you need to do is there's always a staging area. Start there, get your boat ready so your boat can go straight into the water. Then what you do is once you've got your boat ready, go check the ramp. If you haven't been there before, or even if you've been there before, I've found that, especially up here with winter, you get the icing, and then if it's got a concrete pad on it, and depending on where the water level was for the winter, it may have shifted that pad, and there might be a gap now that you need to be aware of that you don't ram into, and or go, water levels are lower, you go further, and all of a sudden you're off the back of the pad. So a quick visual inspection, there's no harm in taking some time, you're not in that much of a rush. Basically, you want to get the ability to line up so as straight as you can to the ramp. I like to go with this, and it does say it is, try to keep whatever side you're going to launch on, the dock side, on your driver's side if you can, just because that mirror obviously is easier to look at than if you're looking at your passenger side mirror and the objects are different in the mirror, right? So, backup cameras, no shame in that. Love it. I like using it. It does work for you. Going slowly. Don't think you're in a freaking rush to get out on the water, because you will screw up guaranteed. Especially with these smaller trailers, they can pivot so quickly that if you're going quickly on it, it'll be to the left within seconds of you doing it. Slow is pro, as they say. Just take your time, make it look good, even if it's slow, right? And then always, if you screwed it up, there's no shame in pulling out and doing it again. Just make sure you take your time and get it right. And then once you're down the ramp, and make sure, put your parking brake on. I have seen too many people, they get out of the car, start running, and then all of a sudden you just see the car start slipping back. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Make sure you put your parking brake on so everything's good for that. You don't want to be like these guys right here and backing up 10,000 times. And we've all seen people kind of do this on the ramp, right? It makes for a great photo. I mean, good for YouTube and stuff, right? So what we're going to get to now is kind of my top 5 places to check out that give you a variety of things to see while you're here in Ontario. My first one I'm going to recommend is going to be the upper Niagara River. With this river, it gives you so much ability to have multiple versions or multiple things to see. You've got rapids, not hard rapids, but enough that you can get used to fast moving water. It's got sections that are 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers wide, nice and slow. And it gives you the ability to kind of, get that river feeling whilst not really going too far from Toronto. There's 2 places that are great to launch from. First one is just up here in the Welland River called Chippewa. There's a nice parking lot and ramp there. The only thing with that location that, again, I didn't know until I got there, I looked at everything, it looked great, ramps look great, parking looks great. There is a lot of current. So I put my Sea-Doo in, and it was floating, and then it went sideways. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to go run out and get that. So again, that's why I didn't check what the water condition was. That's the mistake I made in that case. So that's what you need to do. The other one you can do is down a bit further is Crystal Beach. Again, beautiful launch there, easy to get to, nice parking. Very busy in the morning with fishermen and very busy in the evening. So try to aim for, midday or 10 a.m. and you can get out there. The beauty with this is you have the ability to also, we've discovered, go into Buffalo. You can there's the Buffalo River. You can go into Buffalo, explore. They have the ships there. They got the warships and all that. The only thing we've found out and we've confirmed is you can't land in the States when you're on your boat. You can go up as far as you want, but as long as you don't moor up to the shore or get off your boat, you as a Canadian don't have to go through customs to get in. I even was talking to the Border Patrol about it while we were there. They stopped and said hi. So as long as you don't get off your boat, you're perfectly fine in the waterway. And again, you do not have to register coming back into Canada because you never technically left Canada. Now, if you were wanting to get off and have lunch, there's an app, the US Border Service has an app where you can preload everything, preload your boat, preload your VIN number and everything. And then you go there and tell them 15 minutes before you want to get off the boat. And you basically send a photo of yourself there to prove that you're actually there. And then within 15 minutes, you get a little check mark back saying that you're cleared. You can get off, go have lunch, go explore and everything like that. But coming back, you still have to go through, again, Canada has the Arrive Can app. You would have to do the same thing. You don't have to go to a customs designated marina. You can just do it all on the app. But if you don't want to deal with all that paperwork, just go there, just don't get off. Just look. So I'm just going to show you a quick little video about the Upper Niagara, just so you get a quick little idea of what it looks like. So this is starting out on Lake Erie. These are these grain silos in the Buffalo River that you can explore. This is to give you a quick idea of how strong the current is coming into the upper part of it. This is the going under the Peace Bridge, just so you can see how fast this water is actually moving. But then you get obviously sections like this where it's just open and flat calm water. So it gives you a lot of variety in your riding conditions to make your day a little bit more exciting. And then once you get into it, you can actually get up into the Welland River and go all the way to where the Welland Canal is. And if you wait around there, you'll usually see one of the big ships come by, so it's quite nice to see. But again, that Welland River has a ton of current to it. So this is how you would come into it. It's all controlled, but it's got a nice current going to it. And all these bridges you can explore and go under. But a lot of times what we like doing is you can actually get to where you're here and you got to keep it about 10 to 15 kilometers an hour just to stay still in that water. That's how fast the water is running. But yet enough that it gives you that adventure that it's not too hard to ride. It's a little bumpy, but the fun's there. So the number 4 is going to be Lake Muskoka. If you want to go see how the rich and famous live, this is the place to do it. It's ridiculous. Now I will tell you that in my travels to going to Lake Muskoka, I usually will only go in the spring or the fall, because anytime through late June through to August, it is an absolute zoo on the water. Every cottager is out there, there's speedboats going, there's water ski. You gotta have your head on a swivel if you're there during the summer. But again, you might see a celebrity. But with this one, again, this is where with Lake Muskoka you can launch out of Gravenhurst. So coming out of Toronto, again, under an hour and a half to get to a place that has all this opportunity to see. You have the ability of exploring Lake Muskoka. You can get up over to Bala, have lunch in Bala, or you can go up to Port Carling. Port Carling actually has some really good restaurants right there that you can pull up to with your boat. You can go through the locks, and then you can get into Rosso and Joseph. Usually I've done it where I can do a whole lap around that lake in one day. It'll use up about 60 to 70 liters of gas, but enough that you can see it and have a good time and stuff. So one of those lakes that is really nice to kind of cruise around on. So here's a quick little video of this lake. So this would be coming out of Gravenhurst and heading north in this situation. But again, you can see beautiful waters. Usually you can get some nice calm. And then you find places like this that I will never afford. The boathouse is bigger than my place. It's ridiculous. But as you can see, it's a large enough lake that you do have enough space to it. And like you get good wind. There's places where you can come across and go under railway bridges. That train scared me like there was no tomorrow when it came over. It was so loud. And all of the markings and channel markings is very easy to see there, so it's a very easy lake to do. One of the great things in Port Carling, there's a regular lock that you can go through, but there's also this self-service lock, so you can see the guy up at the top there, he's holding a handle that will actually lower us through. And then he walks down and hops on the Sea-Doo. Highly recommend doing it. It's a fun little trip to go through and say that you controlled your own lock here. And then you get, again, places like that. Ridiculous, but fun to see. So number 3 is a bit of a jaunt to get to, but highly recommend if you're ever able to do a trip, going up to Lake Nipissing. Absolutely beautiful scenery up there. One of the best lakes for just getting out and exploring and having so many options to. With this lake, you have both the entrance to the French River, which is down here. You have the Manitou Provincial Park Islands, which are just incredible with sand beaches that you can get out to. And like I said, a full amount of exploring. Again, wind dependent, Obviously you can see if it's coming from the west, it can get really rough. So always checking around. But that's the beauty of if you come along the south shore and into the French River, you can explore for days in there and have a great time. Deep water, again, the ability to anchor up, and again, you can book a campsite from a website before you even go, and you know where that thing is, you can see it on your map, plan it out, you're not rushing to it. So I highly recommend this, this lake as a place to travel to. I usually go right up to North Bay, get a hotel there for a couple of nights, and each day just go out and pick a place to go to and come back and have a great evening relaxing. Beautiful scenery, absolutely fantastic time. So this is just a little trip about that. So you could take the cruise ship or you could take your own. The cruise ship doesn't get this close to the sandy beaches. So I was told by someone in another summer, this beach on a Saturday does get very busy. But you can see, I was there midsummer and no one was there. So that's the beauty of getting out on these things. Found a uranium mine, didn't even know that existed. So that was pretty cool. And like I said, you can see you get into some bigger waves. This was on a way back. The wind had picked up on me and I was not ready for that. Cools you down, like, I mean, let's be honest. And then this is going actually into the French River. So the ability to, again, as you see, there's hardly anyone out there. Like that's the thing, is not a lot of people are getting out to these places and you have it almost all to yourself to explore. And you get little channels like this. So in the channel here, it was about 20 feet deep, but only about 5 feet wide. And again, you can go almost the whole day and not see a single person there. There are snakes, I will warn you, there are snakes, I didn't like that part. And then this is a designated campsite by, like I said, online that you can stay at. And as you can see, you're in the middle of nowhere. There's no one else around. You have the place to yourself. So a wonderful place if you want to get away and enjoy the wilderness and yet be protected from large water. Number two, you've heard me talk about it already, but Parry Sound. Parry Sound is one of those places that you have almost unlimited ability to do so many different things when you're launching out of there. I launch out of Champagne Street. There's a beautiful launch there. Has free parking during the day. And again, like I said earlier, it's $10 a night that you just book online through the city's app that they have. Really easy to do. They've got things posted out to you. Again, you can go out to see the islands that are out there. You can go back into the Massasauga and get into some of the forestry. As you can see, you get a lot of these like channels where you can go down to, and that's all explorable. And no one's down there with you, so it's great to get that. So again, I'll show you just a quick video of going around there. But again, you can see in this one, I'm all loaded up with campfire wood and extra gas, bags, luggage. So all that stuff I take on the Cedar. That's how these things can, how much these can carry. And you get out and you see absolute beautiful, stunning scenery like this. Again, my favorite time, again, I keep saying is spring and fall are the best times to get these places. Because again, I had the place to myself. This was in early October and no one's out on the water. So if you look, Georgian Bay is out there at the top of the thing. So all of this is accessible from Georgian Bay. So that's the beauty of it. You can get in and see all these wonderful places. You know, you find new rivers and tiny little rivers that you can get into. And when you're taking it on obviously a Sea-Doo or a smaller boat, that was only about 4 feet of water. You're not gonna take your 32-foot boat through that. It ain't gonna work. You will never get to see this little back channel that gets you there. So the beauty of taking these smaller boats. But my number one has got to be Tobermory. I highly recommend it to everyone to go. That has to be the best, most beautiful water you'll see here in Ontario. We always like to call it the Caribbean of the North, just because of the crystal clear waters you're going to get. Now the waters are freezing cold, so it may look inviting, but whew, I'll tell you, it wakes you up. So from there, again, a lot of the options that we do is, I will tell you, never go to actually to Tobermory to launch. It is a complete zoo there. They charge you a fortune. You'll probably hit 6 or 7 people because they don't get out of the way when you're going down the ramp. It's ridiculous. The one I recommend is just a bit further south here, just on a thing called Dyer's Bay. Again, that's on the map of that Fish Online thing. It's a government dock. The only thing with that one is it's a bit tricky, is the parking isn't where the dock is. You got to kind of walk up the road a bit. There's parking there. And then for some reason, government, they put the pay station even further back. So you always got to, and they put it on the way out, not on the way in. So you don't even see it. So you got to remember to pull over, pay first, then go to the ramp, put your Sea-Doo in, drive it up the hill a bit and park it, and then go back. It's an exercise, but it's way better than being in Tobermory and getting freaking stressed out and charged a fortune. And you still have to park far away. You can't even park near the ramp. So again, here's a quick little video of the joys and views you can get when you go up to the Tobermory. And again, using the Windy app, you can go out when glass days like this with super sweet glass, where you can get really close to the coastline. That's the beauty of getting in there. Up here, we've got the Winfield Lighthouse, and this is Winfield Basin, and there's actually a shipwreck there that you can get into and get really nice and close to, deep enough. And then you get interesting shoreline. So you can see how amazingly crystal clear that water is. So right there where I'm in is about 20 feet of water. That's how deep it is, but it does not look that way. Now the trick is don't go fast. In one of my videos I was going really fast and I missed one of those boulders by about that much. Would have ended my day. But then you've got caves. You can get up to the grotto so you don't have to deal with all the people crawling around. You get right up close to it. You have the chance to see the Chichimon, which is one of the boats that goes over to Manitoulin Island. There's incredible lighthouses to see. The famous Flower Pot Island. All these guys are stuck on a tour boat. Look how close you can get to it. That's the beauty of it. Shipwrecks. This place has everything, but again, I warn you, you gotta go at the right time. And there's nothing like cruising along there. You can't do that with one of your big boats, being that close to the shoreline and seeing these rocks the size of houses right there for you. And again, just how beautiful that water is. And usually what we'll do is we'll actually pull up into some of these little holes here and spend the whole day there snorkeling. You bring your lunch with you. It's absolutely incredible. And again, as you can see, no one's around. Now here's a trick. No one tells you about the flies. Problem with there is it looks beautiful. Everyone takes great photos and video, like, oh, it's so beautiful here and everything. There are flies there. Those are horse flies. They will bite you like there's no tomorrow. So you want to keep moving. I stopped there just to do that one quick little drone shot, and that was how many flies showed up on my Sea-Doo. They're not fun. So that pretty much comes to the end of the presentation. So thank you guys for hanging out and everything like that. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, feel free to come up and chat with me later. Again, I am on YouTube, so if you want to see any of these videos, I've got all the stuff like that. If you need anything, I've got cards I can give out to you guys with the YouTube channel. So thank you so much. Enjoy the show, and until the next one, we'll see you on the water, guys.